Let's talk about it. It is Kamen Rider Kuuga Volume 2 comes out this week, y'all. Is the Kuuga manga just an adaptation of the season? So no, Kuuga manga actually is a manga that was written that kind of combines Kuuga and, as far as I'm aware, Agito in a certain way. Yeah, Kuuga manga 2 comes out. The problem is, a lot of people seem to have a problem with the translation. Fix the translation, maybe I'll change my mind. So today, there was somebody that commented on this tweet. A lot of people are going at this tweet that said, it's this deleted one right here. And they said, bad translation. To which Brandon Easton decided to say, it's so strange to me that a few so-called fans take delight in tearing down the works of others. Whether or not you personally like the translation, these books will expose the Kamen Rider franchise to a wider, younger audience in the Western world. That's a great thing. And you may be like, why did Hawk click on this random person? Why does he care? And we'll talk about the translations in a second. Why would I click on this random person and give them, head writer? Oh, Kamen Rider. Writer for Kamen Rider. Oh, this is the writer of the 01 comic book that we are getting. The first official piece of American Kamen Rider anything since Dragonite. This is the writer of the 01 comic book, and yes, he is essentially saying that, like, hey, eat the food you're given. It's on the plate. Eat the food you're given. When I talk about having bad translations, because I got the Kuuga manga for Christmas and I haven't specifically opened it yet. I was waiting for Volume 2 to come out because I also got a gift card for it. But I'll go over here to Mars Girl. Mars Girl tweeted about it. Here's basically what they mean by bad translation. Is, and Yusuke Godai, is it? I saw a different part of this where this is supposed to say that thing is Yusuke Godai, ? And then you can go down and see this one right here. It says, damn it, we'll get psyched from tomorrow. To which Mars Girl points out, it should probably say, we'll get psyched starting tomorrow. And then there's just randomly things like this dude's name is Ichijo. It says, hi, I, Chijo. And there's a line break there for some reason. So things like that. And a lot of people are pointing out that it looks like it's machine translated and then just dropped right back in there. Here's another one that Mars Girl pointed out. It says, you could be really at my place. Nobody knows what that means. For all of these, terrible translations. Not really, especially if you're an English reader jumping into this stuff for the first time, you're like, this is like weird. This is kind of blocky. So Brandon Easton says, let me clear up a few things. 1, a lot of manga is inappropriate for younger readers, doesn't stop them from buying/reading. 2, I understand this frustration from some fans. As someone who has never read the Kuuga manga, this provided me a window into that iteration. To which he's also getting torn up. Specifically by this person, Zach Davison. I saw his tweets a couple times, but when you go to their profile, Eisner winning translator, writer, lecturer, writers, Demon Days, Arts of Star Wars Vision, translates a couple different works there. And they, Phil Brandon, said, let me clear a few things up. Translation is an important art form. It can be done poorly. This is done poorly. As a writer, if your own work was mangled in the translation, you would be justifiably upset. Cheap machine translation is an insult to the original artist. Which we could all pretty much agree. Brandon Easton comes back and says, some hashtag Kamen Rider fans are upset by recent posts. I'll say this, I did not mean to offend anyone. I do not have a problem with the Kamen Rider Kuuga manga in the least. Apparently, many others do. I respect your disdain, but I do not agree. Let's be respectful. We're all fans. I stayed out of this today because I knew I could talk about it here among people who like understand who I am and what I do and all that stuff. As a lot of you have rightfully pointed out in the chat, being a fan, being a child, being a manga that's not for children does not excuse terrible translations. I, as a lot of my generation did, grew up playing PlayStation games, and the PlayStation 1 didn't have the greatest localization for a lot of these smaller games that it had on it. You get those like terrible translations, and you can think back to a million different ones that you've seen memes of on the internet, like the bases belong to us and all that stuff. That's all stemmed from terrible translations. It's a perfect example. PlayStation 1 was way back when. We are in 2023, and as Kamen Rider fans, the last couple of years have very much been like, hey, your food is on the table, so eat it. And we've been told this from multiple official sources that represent Kamen Rider. And here we are being told that again. Your food is on the table, eat it. And fans are starting to get mad about it. Fans are starting to get a little antsy about it, especially when this is something very affordable, because the other stuff was very expensive, CSMs and stuff. It was a lot of like, hey, you're getting CSMs, at least you got that. You're getting this stuff and the more expensive stuff. This is a $10 to $15 manga that can get a lot of new readers in, because Brandon isn't wrong when he says this will get new eyes on Kamen Rider. He's not wrong at all. In fact, that is exactly what this manga is for, to get new eyes on Kamen Rider. If you're at a shop and you read manga a ton and you're looking around and you see this next to My Hero Academia, Jujutsu Kaisen, you see this next to the Shonen Jump of the week, and you're like, man, that's pretty cool. Like, this cover looks sick. And you're like, man, that cover is pretty cool. I want to know what this is about. The part one has a cool cover too, but it's literally Kuuga on it. And then you open it and you pick it up and you're reading it and you're like, all right, well, that's a bad translation. Or even if you don't know what a bad translation is, you're like, oh, that's weird. That's a weird thing to say. But anyways, I'll go on. And then the second one comes up and you're like, oh, that's a weird thing to say. I'll go on. And then the third one comes up. And then the fourth one comes up. If I'm a new person who has no attachment to this franchise at all, I'm just like 6 times, 7 times, and I think I'm putting it down. I don't think I'm coming back to that. I think I wasted $10. I think I wasted $15. What is this Bush League anime or Bush League indie manga that I bought? When that's not what it is at all. Like, the people here know what Kamen Rider is, and that's crazy. So, to demand better translations, especially in a franchise built, in a community built on fan translations. It's insane to me. In a community, I'm going to say this slow so everyone can understand. In a community that has had to translate their own ways to watch this material for the last 50 years, it is crazy to tell them, deal with the bad translations of this official product. Because if I'm watching something and I notice a misspelling in a TV Nihon, in an overtime, in a Genom Corp video episode, then I'm like, no big deal. These people aren't getting paid for this. It's crazy that Kamen Rider airs at 4 p.m. on Saturday, and by 12 a.m. on Sunday, it is available to watch, English subbed by people who this is not their job. But the people who it is their job, they're giving us stuff like this. They're giving us stuff like this. And while I do agree to be respectful, we are all fans. This is my respectful way of going about it. Is just to be better about this stuff. Fans can want better for the thing that they love. Quite honestly, it's more than fans. You've got industry professionals calling it out. I didn't read this one, but Zach replies again and says, just to be clear, I'm not a fan. I'm an industry professional calling out bad practices in the manga industry. An attempt was made to cut corners instead of delivering the best version of a comic. This is disrespectful to readers as well as to Shotaro Ishinomori and Toshiki Inoue. Ishinomori and Inoue's words deserve to be treated with more respect. When companies decided to publish works that aren't up to a professional standard, as this was not, they should be held accountable. This isn't fans disagreeing. This is a legitimate industry call out. Yeah, I can't put it better than that. I can't put it better than that. Zach, thank you very much. I don't know if I'm going to pick up the the next Kuuga manga. I don't know if I'm going to pick up the 01 comic from now on. This also probably stops us from getting stuff like Fudo PI. Yeah, and I think that's the biggest bummer, is that Toei is the kind of company that's going to be like, well, no one bought issue 2 and 3 and 4, so they obviously don't want that stuff in America. Instead of being like, man, we did this as cheaply as possible, and that's what Americans don't want. Not that they don't want the Kamen Rider Kuuga manga. I was super excited to read it. If sales aren't looking good, they'll probably cut it off. And with the discourse here, and I need to remind everyone, because I get lost in the waters too. Twitter, not the world. Twitter's not the world. There could be people out there, and there probably is, and there for sure is people out there who picked up the Kuuga manga and was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever read, and I'm going to pick up every single one, and do not care about this stuff. But as someone who kind of makes it a point in their life to push this stuff out to everybody every single week, I feel like I have to be one of the people to be like, hey, this is, let's do better here. Let's do better at this part.